today's podcast is about pressure, and pressure is in the world all around us. It's how we, I don't know, how a spray can works. It's how pops work. It's also how vacuum cleaners work. So that was my dad raking up some leaves, and essentially there's a big propeller in there that creates a low pressure system, and it's awesome because in science nothing sucks. Everything always pushes. So, a vacuum cleaner, we say like a vacuum cleaner sucks stuff into it, but no, it just creates a low pressure, and because the atmospheric pressure is so high, it pushes dirt, and in this case leaves, into the vacuum, or the leaf mulcher. So anyways, today's podcast is about pressure. That is it.
Alright, so today's podcast we're talking about pressure. And first thing we're going to do is we're just going to define what pressure is. So pressure can be defined as the force exerted by a gas the force exerted by gas molecules or particles running into the walls of their container, or hitting the walls of their container, something kind of along those lines. So again, force exerted by gas particles running into the walls of their container, whatever is holding them. So one of the common times we talk about air pressure is when we're talking about tire pressure. All right, so whether that's a bicycle tire or a car tire, but there's gas that we pump into the tire, and the gas pressure is simply how often or how hard those molecules are hitting the sides of the container. Okay, so pressure can be affected by three different things, and this is really, there's four different ways we can talk about gases, and one of the ways we can talk about a gas is pressure, but pressure can be affected in three different ways. So we're just going to talk about ways we can increase pressure. All right, so we can increase, so I'm just going to put an arrow up, pressure, by doing one of three things, or changing one of three things. All right, and one of those things is we can add more molecules or particles. So if we increase particles, we also increase pressure, which is really how car tires work, or bicycle tires. It seems like it's flat. Why is it flat? There's not enough particles in there. So we get a bike pump, we pump it up, or we're going to air compress or pump our car tire up, and we're adding just more gas molecules, more air molecules, and that makes the pressure go up. All right. Another thing that we can do is we can increase the temperature. All right, and temperature has everything to do with kinetic energy. All right, so over here we're just going to put temperature is really equal to the average kinetic energy. All right, and kinetic energy is energy of motion or movement, but temperature is the average kinetic energy of a substance. So it could be a liquid, it could be a solid, it could be a gas, but of some substance. All right, and simply what that means is temperature measures how fast molecules are moving. So if it's a hot day, the air molecules outside are moving really, really quickly. If it's a cold day, they're moving very, very slowly. So if we increase the temperature, our molecules are moving more quickly, so they're hitting the sides of the container more often. All right, if they're going to hit more often, that means pressure is going to go up. So we can add more particles, and that just means they're hitting more often because there's more of them. We can increase the temperature, and they're hitting more often because they're moving faster, so it takes them less time to get from one wall to the other wall. And the last way we can increase pressure is by decreasing volume. All right? And that simply means that we can put whatever our gas is in a smaller space. All right? So if we put it in a smaller space, which is what volume is, if we have gas in a box this big, and now we compress it to a box this big, because the molecules don't have as far to travel, they're going to hit the sides of the container more often. Okay? So you really need just kind of these three relationships. And, I'm just going to box them. We can increase pressure by doing one of three things. We can either increase our particles, we can increase our temperature, or we can decrease our volume.